yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
It's the 3rd of February and this is Race to Power, American Joker. Tonight, US President Donald Trump continues to rattle the world with his newfound weapon of choice, tariffs. And now, the European Union tentacles are alert on how to avert Trump's threats. And Germans are not pleased with the right. We tell you what the Berlin takeover protests against the AfD are all about. Welcome to the show. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is the first international leader to visit the US after a change of guard in its presidency. The visit comes less than 2 weeks after Donald Trump assumed office. Now, according to reports, Netanyahu is expected to first have a meeting with US Special Envoy to West Asia, Steve Witkoff. On Tuesday, BB will meet US President Donald Trump. West Asia will be the focus of the discussions, particularly the Gaza ceasefire, situation of Israeli hostages, and Iran. This will be followed by an official dinner. Interestingly, this will also be Bibi's first international trip after the ICC issued an arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister in November last year. However, the US is not party to the Rome Statute governing the ICC. This absolves the country from any legal obligation to arrest Netanyahu. Back at home, trouble continues to brew for the Prime Minister. While Netanyahu faces criminal trials, a criminal probe has also been launched against his wife. Sarah Netanyahu is facing investigation over accusations of witness tampering. Now, according to the state attorney's office, Sarah allegedly tried to intimidate a witness and interfere in the corruption case against the Prime Minister. An Israeli media report triggered a joint investigation which is being conducted by the Israel Police and the Cybercrimes Department of the State Attorney's Office. Details revealed that Bibi's wife ordered Hani, her husband's late aide, to orchestrate protests and an online campaign against a key witness in one of the cases in which the Prime Minister is standing trial. And joining us live now is our correspondent Susan Teherani, who's joining us from New York. Hi, Susan. Good to see you. Netanyahu is already in Washington, D.C. We understand that he's going to meet Steve Witkoff first and then meet U.S. President Donald Trump. What's on the cards? What's on the table?
A very sensitive time for this meeting. Of course, it's the first time that President Trump is receiving a foreign leader since he's assumed office. Trump 2.0. Benjamin Netanyahu is here to discuss the next phase of the ceasefire with Hamas. Also, that 42-day temporary ceasefire is expected to finish in about a month or so. So they want to talk about perhaps a longer plan. They want to talk about victory over Hamas, the Israelis ultimately, and Iran's role in the region. These are the issues that Netanyahu hopes to discuss with President Trump. And of course, we are, seeing this as a very significant meeting, not only because of U.S.-Israeli relations, but Arab nations in the region are also watching. Remember, Donald Trump recently said that some Palestinians should be relocated out of Gaza. That caused Iran and Arab nations in the region to criticize those comments. So, all of these developments are going to be on the sidelines as well as we watch this meeting.
All right, Susan Teherani, thank you for that update. Good to see you. After initiating a tariff war against Canada, Mexico and China, U.S. President Donald Trump has spoken to Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Trump posted about this crucial development on Truth Social, saying that he will speak to Trudeau again. In a parallel development, Canada's province Ontario has banned U.S. firms from government contracts and has also withdrawn from a deal with Elon Musk's Starlink. Canada, Mexico and China are in Trump's crosshairs, with a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and a 10% tariff on Chinese goods.
That have to balance out their trade. Number one, that we've got to stop people from pouring into our country, and we've stopped it. They haven't stopped it. We've stopped it. They have to stop people from pouring in, and we have to stop fentanyl, and that includes China. Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada. and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
Trudeau had earlier announced 25% tariffs on U.S. goods. He expressed disappointment over the strained ties with the U.S.
President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States. The better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us, unfortunately. The actions taken today by the White House split us apart instead of bringing us together.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says that the U.S. is shooting itself in the foot. She pledged counter tariffs ranging from 5 to 20% on various U.S. products.
I responded to the government of the United States. I told them clearly that we can collaborate and cooperate because it's important to cooperate and collaborate between nations. But now with interference. With them wanting to tell us how to do things, but with collaboration for that reason. I say coordination, yes. Subordination, no.
Coordinación sí, subordinación no.
China has announced it will file a legal complaint against the U.S. at the World Trade Organization, arguing that the new tariffs violate international trade rules. Economists warned that these developments could trigger inflation, slow economic growth, and hurt American workers. Prices of cars, electronics, and daily essentials may skyrocket in the U.S. as companies pass on the costs to consumers. Economists say the move will drive up interest rates and could lead to stagflation, a weak economy with rising prices. Now, a key problem in the U.S. is near full employment. Even if tariffs were to boost manufacturing, experts warned there may not be enough workers to fill new jobs, especially as immigration crackdowns continue. Well, as the tariff war gains momentum, Europe is bracing for impact. Attending a defense meeting which has been overshadowed by Trump's decisions, European Union leaders are mulling their next move. Watch.
Both the US and Europe benefit from the exchange of goods and services. If customs policy makes this difficult, then that would be bad for the US and bad for Europe. It is clear that as a strong economic area, we can shape our own things and can also respond to customs policies with customs policies.
We have to, during our possible talks with the American friends, I think we cannot lose, of course, common sense. We cannot lose the awareness of our interest, but at the same time, we cannot lose our European self-respect.
If we are attacked in terms of trade, Europe, as a true power, will have to stand up for itself and therefore react. Now this is an action plan, but actually how to do it by deciding it.
Elizabeth Lores is the President, E. Lores Consulting and Professor Emerita, University of Mary Washington. Professor Lores is joining us live now. Good to see you, Professor. I know we had agreed to talk about Trump's new weapon of choice, which is tariffs, but let's lay the facts bare here. Trump is saying that the reason why he's imposing these tariffs is because America has a huge trade deficit and he doesn't want to hurt Americans. What he wants to do is ease the burden and try and bridge the gap. Do you think or do you believe in what the president is doing right now?
Well, that is a bit of a new twist. Of course, he's talked about trade imbalances with China and some other Asian countries before. The way he presented this initially, of course, to the American public was that he wanted Canada and Mexico to cut down on the flow of illegal aliens and the flow of fentanyl into the country. Regarding the, as you just mentioned, closing a trade gap, That needed to be considered when NAFTA was re-signed and renegotiated as the USMCA. So what he's really doing is he ran on a promise of lowering, these or closing, I guess, a trade gap is the best way to put it, but also decreasing the flow of illegal aliens and fentanyl into the U.S. And he's got the political capital to do it now. He's got about 2 years before the midterm elections. And so now he's come out of the gates really hard and fast because this is the time that he has to do that.
Professor Loras, do you think Trump is using this tariff tag as a bargaining chip? I know he did say that he doesn't want to change his mind and is not going to change his mind, but do you think he's giving room for negotiations at a later date?
I know a lot of people have labeled him as transactional. I believe in this case, it is carrying out his campaign promises. Remember, some 77 million people voted for him. He won the popular election. And so there is a lot of support for him. And how many times in America and other countries have we heard people say, oh, these politicians, they run on promises, and then once they're in office, they never carry through. Well, you know what? He's carrying through. And it might be painful in regards of prices, at least initially. And I suspect what is going to happen is all those members of Congress who are up for re-election in 2026 are going to get hounded by lobbyists and business, and they're going to try and put pressure on President Trump to relieve some of these tariffs before 2026.
Professor Loras, let's talk about Canada and Mexico, what they've done, because there are so many critics who say that Canada's move is reactionary and it's not that great. Do you think Canada is justified to have done what it did by imposing a counter tariff of 25% and actually going on further to target $155 billion worth of goods from the U.S.?
Yes, and also ending the Starlink contract, at least, or suspending it.
That's
certainly,
right.
Yeah, certainly a leader of a nation needs to at least present the image that they are reacting, right? He cannot just sit down and swallow this bitter pill. That is not going to go over with the Canadian public. And so what leverage does Canada have? It can impose counter tariffs, which are going to be expensive all around, or it can impose non-tariff barriers, which is usually quotas or some agreement on voluntary, like restraints on imports. And so there's not a lot of recourse that countries can do. I understand that President Trump is speaking with Trudeau at 3 o'clock today. I believe that's U.S. time. And so, these tariffs don't come into effect until, a few hours from now. And so maybe there's still some wiggle room here.
All right. Professor Elizabeth Loras, there is a lot to talk about, but unfortunately we are out of time, and it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your insights today.
You're welcome.
Let's move on now. Germany goes to polls on the 23rd of this month in a high-octane battle. Far-right party AfD's rise has put the country on a crossroad. The political firewall against far-right in Germany seems to be crumbling. Tens of thousands of demonstrators gathered in Berlin to protest against CDU party led by Friedrich Merz. Mass protests and protesters stood as a firewall against the far right in Berlin, with a sea of people stretching from the Reichstag to the CDU headquarters. The protesters held banners against Merz for taking AfD support. AfD has long remained isolated in German politics, but recent motion by centre-right CDU for stringent immigration rules in German Bundestag drawn support from AfD. This led to widespread criticism towards CDU from within as well as outside the party. Mainstream German parties had previously joined forces to prevent the AfD from achieving legislative powers. something they call a firewall against the far right. Now, according to the latest polls, Frederick Mars is leading the race for chancellorship, but far-right AFD is making significant advances. When we put latest poll data in comparison with early December trends, AFD has gained additional 3% support, bringing down CDU's advantage over its far-right rival from 14% to 9%. Ruling SPD, led by sitting Chancellor Olaf Scholz, is trailing on third with 16% support. France is preparing for another wave of political uncertainty after Prime Minister François Bayrou decided to push through the budget in a short while from now, despite not having enough backing from political parties. Bayrou, despite opposition against several provisions of Budget 2025, has decided to approve it. It is this very budget that toppled that last minority government and ousted ex-Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Following this development, far-right National Rally Party is discussing the possibility of tabling a no-confidence motion in Parliament.
We have the choice between two difficult solutions, either to accept a very bad budget, probably one of the worst in recent years, which will ratify France's debt, which will ratify the tax bludgeoning of the French people and businesses, and which will require absolutely no effort on the part of the state. It's a bad solution, and then there's the other solution, which is a vote of no confidence.
However, France's Socialist Party has decided not to support a no-confidence motion against Bayrou over his government's budget. However, the leftist party is planning to table its own motion following the Prime Minister's comments on migrants flooding the country. However, the right will, in all likelihood, not back this motion of no confidence. Well, campaigning has ended for the Delhi Assembly elections, ushering in a mandatory silence period before voting to be held on Wednesday. All 70 Assembly constituencies in Delhi vote on Wednesday. Counting will be done on Saturday. On the final day of high-octane campaigning over the last few weeks, it's been a flurry of road shows and rallies across the capital. The BJP held a reported as many as 22 election events on Monday as it looks to win back power in Delhi after more than 25 years. A noted campaigner for the BJP today, ally and Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, Delhi, he said, needs a double-engine government, not a half-engine one. The ruling Aam Aadmi Party looks to secure a third straight term, banking on its governance model of freebies and welfare schemes. Party chief Arvind Kejriwal put out a final video message ahead of polling expressing confidence of a historic win, as he attacked the BJP for what he called making the Delhi police helpless. And the Congress party that was in power in Delhi till 2013 looks to regain lost ground after drawing a blank in the last two elections. The fiercely contested electoral battle has been defined by unprecedented use of AI-generated spoofs, sharp political jibes, and high decibel roadshows. Parties have looked at using catchy slogans and spoofs to woo the voters. 70 seats are at stake. Arvind Kejriwal's app had swept 62 of them in 2020. The BJP had won 8 just, and the Congress got none. Polling is to be held on the 5th. Results will be out on the 8th. Let's talk about Pakistan. Islamabad's legal community is up in arms over the transfer of 3 judges from Lahore High Court to the Islamabad High Court. The transfer, which has been approved by the president, has been met with fierce resistance from lawyers who have gone on a protest. They claim that the measures undermine the independence of the judiciary and legal profession. Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari approved the transfer of a Lahore High Court judge, Justice Sardar Muhammad Sarfraz Dogar, along with 2 others, to the Islamabad High Court, despite opposition from 5 Islamabad High Court judges. In a joint meeting on Sunday, the Islamabad Bar Council, Islamabad High Court Bar Association and Islamabad District Bar Association passed a resolution announcing a protest in the district courts and the Islamabad High Court. Lawyers have vowed to pursue all legal and constitutional avenues to challenge the transfer decision, claiming that the elevation violates constitutional procedures and judicial norms. Condemning the Judicial Commission of Pakistan's decision to call a meeting to appoint additional judges to the Supreme Court on February 10th, they called the action a blatant attempt to manipulate the court's composition, filling it with individuals favored by the ruling parties and the establishment. The legal fraternity also demanded that the Bar Association's application seeking the nullification of the 26th constitutional amendment should be heard by all 16 judges of the Supreme Court. The 26th Amendment, which introduced new rules for the appointment of judges, allows for the bypassing of the seniority criteria. They demanded that the Islamabad High Court Chief Justice should be appointed from the senior-most judges present in the court to ensure fairness and merit-based selections. Apart from Islamabad, lawyers in Lahore have also announced plans to launch a protest. They are planning a march towards Islamabad on February 10th in protest against the 26th Constitutional Amendment. Lahore High Court Bar Association has demanded that the Judicial Commission of Pakistan's meeting to pick judges to be cancelled immediately. The country, Georgia, has become a hotbed of unrest since the ruling Green Party declared victory in the October 28th parliamentary elections last year. Months-long protests flared up again on Sunday as thousands of demonstrators took to the streets, briefly blocking a major highway into the capital city, Tbilisi. The protesters called for new elections after months of electoral fraud allegations. The police detained over 20 individuals, including key opposition figures Naika Melia, leader of the liberal pro-European Akali Party, and former Tbilisi mayor Gigi Ugulava. The discontent among the citizens and opposition groups surged after Prime Minister announced on November 28th that the government would delay discussions on EU membership until 2028. International organizations, including EU officials, have condemned government's crackdown on protesters, calling for the protection of democratic rights in Georgia. And that's the latest on this edition of Race to Power on WION The World is One. Thank you for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
The better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us.
I say coordination, yes. Subordination, no.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello there, welcome back. This is WION World is One. We're glad you're watching. Time now for Fine Print. I'm American Joker, our top stories. Ontario, Canada's most